Hi there, I'm Robin Vogels, owner of Personnel Relocations and the author of the book Your DIY Move Guide to Australia. Today I'm talking about moving your pets to Australia. I'm personally a dog lover. I do like cats, but I'm a little bit allergic to them. But I completely understand the importance of having your furry friend and that part of your family in Australia with you. So I wanted to share some tips, things that you can ask your relocation company about your move, and what can influence the price of your move, or moving your pet, I should say. So let's just start with a few things, questions that you should be asking your relocation company. These are things that I've learned in the 15 years that I've been moving pets to Australia. I've moved countless dogs, countless cats. I've been asked to move a pig once, a little piglet. They're not allowed to be imported. I've moved a horse all the way from San Francisco. That poor horse had a very long journey. Very arduous, but yeah, I've got experience in moving pets and managing that relocation process. And I encourage you, if you're looking for a recommendation of a trustworthy pet relocation company, to drop me an email or ask a question of any of us. We'll be able to point you in the right direction. It is a big thing, and I know there's so much going on during your move, but please pay attention to the little things when it comes to your pet relocation. So what things should you be asking? Obviously, one of the first things the relocation company is going to ask you is the size of the pet. And they will offer you a container or an air freight dog tainer, if you like, crate that's size appropriate for the animal. Now, that's all very well and good. What's going to be inside that container? Can you send a little fluffy toy that's something that's familiar for them, or is that a distraction? Ask those sort of questions. One of the most important questions, though, for me to ask is about the layover. Now, I know you've got a lot going on, but that layover is so important. Who's going to look after the pet during that layover? Do they get taken out? Do they get to stretch their legs a little bit? Do they get food, water, etc., etc.? They might seem common questions, and they might be in the fine print of your contract with a relocation company, but please check them out. There's some countries where your flight might go through that might not have the love of pets that you have. So let's make sure during that layover that the pet is going to be comfortable. Ask about hidden costs. No jokes. I had a client the other day who received a bill for $400 once they arrived in Australia for cleaning the container each time the pet soiled it. Now, you would think that it's expected that a pet's going to soil the container, and then that would be included in the price, but it actually wasn't. So when you're comparing pet relocation companies, not only do you want to trust them, but make sure you're comparing the price apples for apples, and that everything is included. So the port fees, the quarantine fees, the soiling fees, anything else that might need to be in there, make sure that it's in there. So what can influence the price of bringing your pet to Australia? Obviously, as I spoke to you about earlier, the size of the container. The bigger the dog, the bigger the container, the bigger the price. That's just one of those things you cannot avoid. What you can do, though, is work on the airline prices. Now, just as with humans, the longer in advance that you book your flight, the more options you're going to have. Okay, so book in advance, book your quarantine in advance. That's a very big and important tip, especially as it is now. We're sort of end of February, early March 2023. They are just reducing the quarantine times for some countries and increasing for other countries. So quarantine stations are quite full at the moment. So make sure that you've booked your quarantine in advance. But booking your flight in advance gives you more options. There's only certain airlines that can take animals, and there's a restriction on the amount of animals that they can take. So booking in advance, just like with humans, we've got more options. If you have a dog that is a short-nosed dog, so something like a pug or a bulldog, there's many airlines that don't accept them because of the breathing. They could develop breathing difficulties during the flight. So again, you're quite restricted in which airlines you might be able to use. So booking in advance, I can't stress that enough. Booking around December and January, just like with us, it's high season. A lot of people are moving then. Book in advance if you want to save money. Cheap and cheerful airlines are going to have longer layovers, just like with humans. So just consider all of those things. On our resources page of my website, you can find a step-by-step guide in importing your pet to Australia, which can change depending on which country you're coming from. So on the resources page, there's a link to the Department of Agriculture, and you can find out specific information for your particular pet coming from that country. You can also find the list of restricted pets or restricted dogs that we have that are prohibited in Australia. So these would be American pit bulls, the Japanese Tosa, wolf hybrids. There's a whole list on there of dogs that are restricted in Australia. And lastly, I get this question a lot. Does having a pet cause problems in finding a rental? My simple answer is no, it doesn't cause you problems. It restricts things, and it means that you might need to make a few more compromises. So for an example, we have a rental shortage in Australia. So there's not a lot of rentals to choose from. If you're arriving with a pet, you're going to need a garden, you're going to need a fully enclosed garden. So that might restrict you in saying, okay, I can't look at a townhouse. I can only look at freestanding houses, and I need to check that every house has a fully enclosed garden. So there's a compromise there. You might want to be able to move further away from the city to find a big enough piece of land where you could have a larger dog, for example. And the compromise is you're going to have a longer commute time to get to the office if you're working in the city. So please have a look on my website under the blogs. I've also got tips on settling your pet after a long haul flight. As I say, there's a step-by-step guide from the Department of Agriculture on the resources page. If you have any questions, I'm always here. You can email me. There's links in the comments below for the resources, blogs, anything else that you might need, and of course my email address. Thank you very much for watching this, and I hope that's been helpful to you. Cheerio.